So I'm out here mowing in what feels like the surface of the sun here in Florida, and I'm looking at the bog gardens and I'm thinking, one, they look gorgeous, but two, I don't think that I've showed them in a long time. And so today, what I thought I'd do is just take you on a little tour and show you how everything is coming up now that it is springtime. Get ready, got a lot to see. First thing we're going to start off with is the Venus flytraps. Now I'm going to try to go as quick as I can to save you a lot of time, but I promise you, you're going to want to see all this if you're a huge carnivorous plant enthusiast, because what is happening right now is amazing. So without further ado, almost everything in front of you in these two bog, we'll call them bogs, but they're swimming pools, are rescues. Now there are some on the edges that are not, and I'll go over those, but for the most part these are all rescues that I got from Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart, and they are entering their second season with me, and most of these were just about dead when I got them, but they are certainly coming back in full force. Several of them are flowering here. Now I've removed the flowers on multiple because I want them to put their energy into growth, but it has been a constant trimming back, and so I'm gonna have to continue to do that as I see more coming up here, but that is okay. Now if you don't know, if you plant these stalks right in the ground like this, there's a very good likelihood, about a 40%, that you will get a clone of the parent plant. And so I always recommend doing that, especially if you have small ones and you're wanting to get a more robust collection. That's a great way to do it. Now here is a fan favorite. This one I got as a rescue, and this thing is all kinds of wonky. It looks beautiful right now. It always looks beautiful to me, but as it gets bigger, you'll see there is the petioles are like jagged. Some of the traps are different colors. They have a bunch of fused tooth mutations, and here comes a plane overhead. We're right in the flight path here. Let me stop the video so we get back to it. All right, sorry about that. I am right in the flight path of some planes, so we might get some interruptions. I want to show this one. This one is called La Grossa Agigi, and it's a very odd name, but this produces some of the largest traps in Venus flytrap cultivars, and certainly one of the largest plants. It gets very, very large, over a foot and a half in diameter. Can get much larger than that, but these traps get huge, almost 2 inches in length. So pretty amazing stuff. If I have one over here, I'll show you another cool cultivar. This one is called Mirror by Mirror, and let's see if I can find a, doesn't look like it has any at the moment, but this one will get really unique Venus flytrap traps on the side of its traps, almost like wings. It's pretty dang cool. A lot of these though are just typicals, but I think they're absolutely gorgeous. Here's that one I showed on the short the other day. Well, let me get you out of the shadows. Here's that one I showed you the other day. It has such a weird pattern on it. That must be something that Venus flytraps do, even as long as I'm growing them. This is new because I've also got some there as well. Now, coming over to the other rescue, here are some more rescues that are absolutely doing fantastic. I got these from Walmart just not too long ago, and they're doing great. But what you'll also see dotted in here are all of these little baby Sarracenias. And so I've got a ton of Sarracenia seedlings that are of all different types, all different hybrids. And so you will see that. Look at this little one with this enormous hood for its size. Pretty amazing stuff. This is that peach one I was telling you about. Very excited to see that one grow out. That is a peach colored Sarracenia leucophil hybrid of some type. Here we have the little grass clippings from mowing, the little Venus flytrap seedlings that I have. I have them dispersed everywhere, but here's my biggest collection of them in this little pot, concentrated collection I should say. Here's that dentate trap I was telling you about that I did not order, somehow got. Super excited about that. But you can just see all these little seedlings of the Sarracenias just dotted in here everywhere, and super excited to see those grow out. But there's also a ton of little Venus flytraps everywhere. I'm trying to keep out of the shadows for you. See that? Now the next two bogs are all large cultivars. I think 2 of them are hybrids, but for the most part, all of these are large cultivars, and these are all relatively new acquisitions for me. You have Big Jaws by Dentata, you have DCXL by Ginormous, or excuse me, B52 by DCXL, B52 by Ginormous, Big Tomato. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but I'll touch on some of them. You've got DCXL here. All of these get enormous traps. And so I'm excited to see these grow out. Probably won't do a whole lot this season, but I am excited to see what they'll do moving forward. And this is probably the stunner out of all of them. Not probably, it is. This is SD Kronos, and I just made a short about this one. This Venus flytrap boasts some of the largest pitchers in all of the cultivars. But what I love about it is it grows like a weed. I mean, this thing grows so fast and it divides so much, and it is a very easy grower. So if you are new to Venus flytraps, this is a great one to start off with because it needs very little care to do absolutely fantastic. And before we move on to the other types of temperate carnivorous plants, let me just give you a really quick once over of everything. These are all the typicals for the most part. And then these are going to be the big ones. I've got them in large pots because I want them to be mother pots so that I can produce offspring and grow the collection and trade and give to people. Now this next bog is sort of a hodgepodge of everything. And what you have in the foreground here is filiformis. Now some filiformis have white flowers, others have pink flowers. And so these are their beautiful flowers. Like all sundews, they don't keep their flowers open for very long. And so you got to kind of catch them early. Here we are about noon, and you can see they're already closing. Now, unfortunately, these are sterile, and so you get to see the flowers, but that's about it. I would need a whole separate clone in order to be able to produce seeds. Now, I made a video probably about a week ago or so, maybe longer now, about how easy it is to propagate not only the filiformis, but also that video touched on binata. And so what I want to do is, as you watch this video, keep in mind that I've only purchased about 6 total plants between filiformis and binata over the course of the last 2 years. I had some before that, but not too many. I'd say maybe 10 total. So just keep that in mind as you see how big this collection gets. So filiformis, as you know, are dormant plants, or you may not know they are dormant. Some of them take longer to grow out, and so they grow from a hibernacula. And it's a little hard to see now because they're growing out, but that hibernacula looks like a little inverted pine cone. But you can see here, some are a little slower than others to grow out, and that's okay. Some are in full growth now, and the binatas certainly are doing their thing. They also have gorgeous flowers, but unfortunately, just like filiformis, all but one type of binata is sterile. But you'll see here in the mix of all of them, I have all of these little Sarracenia popping up everywhere. Pretty cool. And in here, what looks like just a bunch of weeds is actually some utricularia. And utricularia gets some really cool flowers. Here's a tiny one here. And we'll see some more bigger ones here in a little bit. And then I have some Stelidium debil. This is the trigger plant. And I think I have one blooming. I can show you that as well. So let's go over here to the Sarracenia. Now everything in here are seedlings, believe it or not. And some of these seedlings, well, almost all of them are the same age, around a year old. Now, just like any other plants, they grow at different speeds. And some of these, like the Orophilas rather, will produce sooner pitchers, and then they will die back. But as you can see, these are absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous Leucophilas here. We got here, we have different hybrids of all types. As you can see, you will get caterpillars. Now we have a lot of monarch butterflies around here, and so I want to make sure to keep that, I don't know that they're endangered anymore, but critical species safe. So I don't use anything that's going to harm caterpillars. It's just sort of the hazards of having these plants. But you'll see here there's all different types. Here would have been a beautiful Leucophila that met its end to a caterpillar. But I cannot wait to see how all these grow out. As you can see, there's binata everywhere. And then there's some seedlings that are so tiny and others that are very large indeed. Now let's move on to another bog. This one is going to end up being just a purpurea and Sarracenia bog. I'm slowly starting to transition all of these binatas out of here. But as you can see, remember what I told you, all these binatas came from root cuttings. And so I have things like the forkleaf sundew, or giant forkleaf sundew. I've got little tiny Floridanas here, which are itty bitty. And you've got Marston's dragon. There are all different varieties in here. But the showstopper here is the purpurea that is blooming. And so there's a different types in here, this venosa, and I believe this is rosea here. Look at these beautiful flowers. I've pollinated them, so I'm excited to see how they'll go. And then we have our Sarracenia. People love this plant, and it is, as you can see, this is its second season in my care, and it is dividing like crazy, even with it flowering. So I'm very excited to see how those grow. And you'll notice the water level is pretty high, and that is because these plants love high water. And so I want to make sure that this bog is dedicated to them. Now the binata, they don't care. They can grow in just about anything. They're basically the honey badger of carnivorous plants. They don't care. Here are some more seedlings that are popping up everywhere. Sarracenia is popping up everywhere. Gotta love that. Got some more weeding to do. Here is, so the next 4 bogs are all divisions that I took off the binatas and the filiformis this year. And so they're gonna look a little haggard, but I'm gonna tell you a little story on them. So just about everything you see in front of you here about 2 months ago was an empty pot. Now there were some that were growing out, but for the most part, these are rooted divisions, some of the smaller ones. Others had a little bit of plant growth already, which is why they're larger. But these things, I made that video and I cannot tell you, I'm not speaking hyperbole when I tell you they will grow like weeds. And so you can get a huge collection very fast. There's also Dichotomous giant in here somewhere. So I'm excited to see that. We have my oldest Sarracenia, which is a Micheliana in here, and it is doing great. Let's move on to the next one. This is just a hodgepodge of everything. We have Leucophilas in here. We have some hybrids, anthro-free hybrids. Probably would do better in the shade, but it's hanging out here. You'll see a lot of Stylidium debil in here, and a lot of tiny Sarracenia. Here's a pile of Leucophila, and there's some over there. Here are some more Leucophila hybrids. I love Leucophila, if you can't tell. And then the binata. The binata, you'll see, just grows everywhere. I love it. Here is, kind of a surprise, this is a wide leaf capensis. Wide leaves don't typically like super hot weather, so I'm surprised this little guy is even hanging on for as diminutive as it is. But everything is growing out really well. These Sarracenia are a season or 2 out from being really good size, but I wanted to give them room to grow. Now, the next 2 bogs are something that I just started on, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. This, other than the, again, binata that is literally everywhere, and filiformis, this is just an entire pool full of sphagnum moss and perlite that I have put Utricularia longifolia in. You have a capensis pink over there, but there's, you know, there's a little stowaways here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be longifolia. Look at that beautiful flower. Now, this is a carnivorous plant. If you're not familiar, longifolia means long foliage. Now, in the wild and in shadier spots, it can get up to 2 feet long, the leaves. But in cultivation, especially in the sun, they will stay relatively small. The traps are underground, and they boast some of the largest traps in the genus. And they also have the fastest traps of any plant in the carnivorous plant kingdom. Now, they grow extremely fast. This is basically a weed. And so I wanted to grow it in this huge bog to give it a chance to spread through stolons and just give me a big, beautiful pile of those purple flowers. If you are new to carnivorous plants, I highly recommend this one. This will grow very fast for you. And the biggest thing is if you do grow it in a small collection, keep an eye on it because it will choke pots. And then the final bog pot is the same thing, full of just peat with perlite, and this is all binata, and then a filiformis. This one I believe is Tracii Bruce, but they just got replanted, both of these, about 2 days ago, so they are angry at me. But they will continue to grow. Give it about a week and they will be roaring back to life. I'm super excited to have this all grow out. I love binata, as you probably can tell, and I'm going to continue to grow it out. But now let me show you the cool little binata bog that I got. Here is the little binata bog that I show often in shorts. These are all Marston's dragons or dichotoma or maxima. Man, name just slipped my mind here. There could be dichotoma giant here, but it looks like multifida extrema, excuse me. Whew. Multifida extrema and Marston's dragon. There might be some Evans head in here, but pretty much those two. And so there are a couple plants in here that are growing. If you remember, not only about 2 months ago, this was completely dead, but in here we got Stylidium debil taking over. Oh, there's its little tiny diminutive flowers. Now those little tiny flowers are small, but they've got an attitude problem. And when the pollinator lands on them, they smack them. That's why they're known as a trigger plant. And here we have some more Venus flytraps, because why not? I hope you've enjoyed this video and tour of the collection. If you have any questions on any of them in particular, please don't hesitate to reach out, and happy growing. See you soon.